It's late June here in England, and aside from all the lovely things that brings, like sunshine, flowers and ice cream, I guess, unfortunately it means that hay fever season is in full swing. Now, I'm particularly susceptible to grass pollens, which are abundant right now, and on a bad day it can really knock me for six. Now, I've personally never found any of the over-the-counter tablets very effective. In fact, the only thing I've ever found to work to any significant degree is what I'm going to show you today, and it's a herbal infusion made from a very common and easy to identify plant that you'll have no doubt seen before. So I'll show you where I look for it and how I process it into a tea that I drink daily through the summer to keep the symptoms at bay. So grab your foraging bag and join me on a walk. Alright, so I've come to my local community orchard, and it's just as much a meadow really as it is an orchard. We've got all these lovely fruit and nut trees dotted around, but surrounding those are these lovely big wide patches of mixed grass and wildflower. It's playing havoc with my hay fever, but it is very beautiful, and I can already see that there's loads of the plant that I'm after all over these patches. And the reason I can see that is because of these flower heads. This may be what you've seen as a child. Be very surprised if you haven't. I used to use them as a little gun when I was a child. You can wrap the stem around itself and flick it at people. Great fun. But this is a very good indicator, and it can often be what you see first, because they can grow quite tall. This one is these are some of the tallest ones I've seen for sure. This is like 2 foot long, and this is just so it can get that flower head above the grasses and wave down those bees so it can be pollinated. But it's actually waving me down to say come and pick here actually, and this is what I'm picking. So the plant is called Ribwort Plantain, or Plantago lanceolata is the Latin. So ribwort, this is the top side of the leaf, but on the back side we have these very pronounced ribs. I'm hoping that's focusing nicely on there, but yeah, really stick out. So if you run your fingers on the back of the leaf, you can really feel them. And also, if you pull it apart, another good indicator is the veins. Can you see that? The veins of the plant will sometimes stick out as well. So pull it apart, have a little play around with it, feel the leaf. Lanceolata, the second part of the Latin, is referring to the shape of the leaf, which is lanceolate, so like a spear shape. So these are our two main indicators that we've got Ribwort Plantain. Nice flower stem that looks like that, pretty tall flower stem as well, and lanceolate ribbed leaves. Alright, so I'm going to start picking. I'm going to fill my bag up. I'm going to pick maybe 2 or 3 leaves from each plant, and then pick from a different plant. And I'm going to pick the leaves that are around the outside, the biggest, most developed, and leave the younger ones to carry on growing. I don't want to kill the plant, and if I keep picking the outer leaves, the inner leaves will grow up and I can come back and pick more. I'm far enough away from a road, so I'm happy that it's not going to be covered in exhaust fumes. It is a dog walking area, so this doesn't mean I'm not going to pick here, but I'm just going to be careful to pick away from the paths. So I'll pick maybe like 1 meter into each patch of meadow, and that should be fine. What else do we need to know? Yeah, so generally it will grow most places. It likes grassland, doesn't like woodland. So any kind of grassy areas, it's pretty robust. It'll grow anywhere really, but I think from my experience it tends to grow more in areas that are more highly disturbed. So yeah, any areas that maybe haven't been touched for a long time, that's where I've tended to find them less. So anyway, that's probably all you need to know to get picking. So I'm going to fill this bag up now, and then we'll head back home, and I'll show you what I do to process. So one thing I do as I go, with each leaf I pull off this thin part of the stem. There's no extra goodness necessarily in that, and they take way longer to dehydrate than the rest of the leaf, so it can be sat around waiting for those end bits to dry. It gives me more space in my bag then for the bits that dry nice and quickly. So yeah, quick easy tip there. So that has damn near killed me, having my face in all those grasses. But I have filled a bag now, so I've got enough for what I need. I'm going to head back and I'll show you what I do with it next. Whew, well, that was some intense hay fever. It's the next day now though, thankfully, so I've recovered. But if, like me, you come back broken from getting a face full of grass pollen, you probably won't want to wait a few hours for the leaves to dehydrate. So thankfully you can use the leaves fresh for some quick relief, and I've got 3 leaves here that I've given a good wash. I'm just going to break them up into smaller chunks and dunk them in a mug. Using a blunt tool like a spoon or a cocktail muddler, I'm going to crush the leaves a bit to help release all the good stuff, but try not to get too excited or you might end up with a really rubbish pesto instead. Pour over boiling water and leave to infuse for a few minutes before drinking. Enjoy. But if you've picked a bag load, you're going to want to dry them out for storage. For this, you're obviously going to need a dehydrator of sorts. If you're not in a rush and the weather is hot where you are, then you can use a solar dehydrator like this one. The benefits are not very expensive and have no energy costs. In my experiment with it, the leaves took about 3 days to be fully dry, so considering the low cost of electric dehydrators, it's probably worth investing. Okay, first things first, our leaves need a wash, so I'm going to stuff them into a salad spinner and soak them in water for half an hour or so. And then I'm going to give them a good spin. They don't need to be bone dry as we're about to dry them. You just don't want them dripping wet. Then arrange them on your dehydrator trays so they're not on top of each other. It's quite a satisfying game of Tetris fitting them all on. I then dry them for a couple of hours at 52 degrees C. If you have too many to fit, let them dehydrate for half an hour or so, then as they shrink you can condense the trays a bit and fit the rest on the bottom tray. After a couple of hours, test the leaves and make sure they are bone dry, and they should be crispy and brittle all over. If they feel a bit bendy still, and that's usually on the stalk end, give them another 15 to 20 minutes and check again. And then you're done, and on to the penultimate step of turning it into a more tea-like consistency. For this you might want a blender. It's not necessary, you can just crush the leaves in your hand, maybe onto a piece of paper so it doesn't go everywhere. It's easier to put it into your jar or whatever you're storing it in. But you also can use a blender like this bullet style one, or a jug blender like the one behind me here, whatever you've got available. Basically we're just aiming for a texture that's between them being leaf-like and a powder, a proper powder. So yeah, hard to see on the camera there, but yeah, a coarse powdered texture would probably be the best description. And then you really are done, and it's time to make a cuppa. So that is our Ribwort Plantain Infusion recipe. Please remember though that everybody is unique and different herbal remedies can interact with each other, other pharmaceuticals and medical conditions. I'm not a medical professional, so please do not do anything I've shown you in this video without doing your own research and consulting a doctor or qualified herbologist first. That said, let us know in the comments below what hay fever remedies have worked best for you. Maybe I'll do a video on them too. Otherwise, thanks for joining, and see you on the next one. Cheers.